Started. All right, everybody's getting.
Do they see Barack and Michelle right there?
They can see Barack and Michelle.
I got background.
Hey, Mama.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. So we are about to get started, getting people a few more minutes to hop on the call. But I am Allysen Kerr. I'm the current president of the Tampa Gator Club, and I have the pleasure of sitting here today with the amazing and beautiful Miss Jeraldine Williams, and also Miss Tiffany Chatmon. Tiffany is the former president of the Tampa Gator Club. She's a current UFAA board member and just all around amazing person. And Tiffany and I are both actually graduates of the College of Journalism and Communications, along with Miss Jeraldine. So we wanted to welcome everybody to our first Swampside Chats. This is going to be a monthly series where we'll be interviewing a different alumni or different alumni members every single month, and just talking about their stories and their journeys, and learning about the impact that they're really making in the community. So I love that we get to chat with Ms. Jeraldine first, because she just has an amazing story that needs to be told, and it's Women's History Month. And I could think of no one better to kick us off for this first Swampside Chat than Miss Geraldine. So thank you for joining us.
I am so honored. My gosh.
So the first thing we want to do is just to get to know you. So tell us where all of this began. Where are you from? What's your story?
Oh, I am excited to introduce myself as a native of Ybor City. That's Ybor. That's the Spanish Quarters in Tampa. And I attended all Black schools. I was born right after World War II. I almost said World War I. That wouldn't have been, no, that's too much history. No, right after World War II. And World War II ended in 1945. I was born in 1946. So that means that I am among the original baby boomers. I was born in January, first year after 46. And so I had a responsibility because we were about change. We were headed into the middle of the century, and the men were coming home from the war, and things were changing. And I was born at that time, was an infant, a toddler, right during the time of segregation, had to learn a lot, had to experience a lot, and then unlearn and have different experiences.
Absolutely. So, Tiff, do you want to go ahead and answer the ask and ask question?
Sure. Well, of course, we are all bonded together today by the University of Florida on this call because of the Tampa Gator Club. So I would love to hear a little bit more, Ms. Williams, about your journey to the University of Florida. How did you end up there?
I ended up at the University of Florida as a graduate of Middleton High School, and I finished there in 1963. And I was one of two who went to the University of Florida from Middleton. Middleton at that time was all Black. So from preschool through high school, I attended an all black schools. In 1962, the year before I graduated, the white administration of the school board allowed Black students to take the Florida 12th grade placement test. And so my year was the second year, and there were 222 students in my high school class. I was one of 3 students who passed. I was very, very competitive and wanted to be the top student, which I ended up being one of 2 top students. And when I passed that examination, I felt like that would be one of my 2 ways that I would make a contribution to society. Now, I'm just 16 years old when I'm taking the test. I'm making a contribution to society. Well, I really was. Because it was during the 1961, 62, 63 years that the students were demonstrating against racial discrimination. and working toward getting doors open, opportunities made available. And I was the most popular student at my high school. I was voted most popular, among the superlatives in my class, and I was. And so I was going to be right out there marching and demonstrating and protesting too, until my father said, no, you won't. I really have been reflecting to see how many times my daddy told me no. That's the only time I can recall that he ever told me no. And I couldn't believe him. And I challenged him. And I said to him what I just said to you. Well, I'm the most popular student, Dad, and everybody has to be out there. Everybody has to contribute. And everybody has to do. I've got to do this. And he said, I'm going to say again, no. No dog's going to bite you. No water is going to push you down. No jail is going to hold you. I've got to protect you. And no, you're not going to do it. And I was crestfallen. And he said, you're smart. So be smart enough to find another way to make a contribution. And I decided that I would, now this was also big, that I would work with the NAACP. Because during that time, there was SNCC, SCLC, you could be there, you could be among and be part of others that were much more fierce in their approach to making things better than was the NAACP. But I decided that I'm going to make my decision and I'm going to let everybody else make their decision. And so you don't bother me and I don't bother you. There is a picture of me, actually. I still have it in the Tampa Tribune, which was the white-owned newspaper, the major newspaper in Tampa, helping to open the office, the first office of the NAACP in Hillsborough County. So that's it. I said that would be what I do. That's one. The other would be to walk into some of the doors that my fellow schoolmates were out there demonstrating to open. I'm looking around and I'm saying, now they're saying we want this and we want that. Who can walk in? Not many of them. I can. So that can be my contribution. So it became a responsibility. I didn't wear it on my shoulder like, oh, well, I'm better than you. No, they had a role to play. And I had a role to play. And actually, I stood on their shoulders because they were the ones, those people were not looking forward to opening the doors to Black students at the University of Florida. Let me tell you in case you didn't know, okay? And it didn't matter to me, but my mom said to me that I would have to attend an accredited school, whatever I was going to study. I was going to study science. And the Black publisher of the local newspaper and his son, who was the editor, had me working in the office of the paper, writing twice a week articles in that paper from my 9th grade through my 12th grade years. And they suggested that I study journalism. And I said, okay, what is that? I didn't even know what journalism was. And Mr. Andrews Jr. explained that that's what I had been doing, is I had been working as a journalist. He, however, was urging me to attend Talladega College, where he was a graduate. And I said, Mr. Andrews, does Talladega College have an accredited school or college of journalism? And he said, no. I said, that is my mother's requirement. I have to attend an accredited school. And so he said, no, but you can study English, as he had, and you do very well. And then I said, no, sir, if I'm going to study journalism, I want to study journalism, and it has to be at an accredited school. And so I looked around, and the accredited school, not college yet, but school, was at the University of Florida. That's how I got there. Now, I had to convince my daddy because let me tell you this. The lay of the land was not very pleasant at that time, because we're looking at 1963. That's when they were integrating the Southeastern universities. University of Florida was among the Southeastern universities. So I'm looking at, we finally had a television, back then you had to wait until you could afford it and all that kind of stuff. You shared TVs with your neighbors and all. But I could see the violence over in Mississippi. And at Ole Miss, when they were attempting to integrate, 2 people were killed. This didn't set very comfortably with me. Okay, let's move on up to Alabama. We had the governor standing in the schoolhouse door saying, no, you're not bringing those little nigger kids in here, not even with federal protection. Let's move over to Georgia. And there was a student who was studying journalism at another school. She transferred into Georgia and she was living in the dormitory. And those white students heard that she was in that dormitory. They were going to get her out. They had to have federal escorts to save her from harm. This is not okay. Now I'm 17 by now. And I'm like, you know what? I could have a lot of fun at Florida A&M or Bethune-Cookman, and they were trying to get me at Clark College up in Atlanta. And then going over to Jacksonville, where they were having bloody battles, where the police were allowing white mobs to beat up Black protesters. Nobody was arrested, not one. Okay, not sounding too good. Then after I finally did go, there was over in St. Augustine, which is, still near. And they brought in Black students from, I think, Carolina, because they couldn't find any Black students in Florida who could swim. But they brought in these kids and put them in the pool over at the inn there. And while they were in the inn integrating the pool, the owner came and poured acid in the pool. I mean, we had a whole series of anti-discrimination activity that was harmful to us. And I'm thinking, I would like to go to college and enjoy my college years. I'm not too sure about that. And my shero came to visit me. My shero is Johnsina Williams-McRae. Johnsina had entered the University of Florida from Bradenton, and she went in 1962. She was among the first 7 to attend. Johnsina came over to visit me in Tampa, and she said, Geraldine, our white people are doing all right. They aren't acting violently. And I said, oh my gosh, if she has made it for a year, maybe I can make it. And I kept my eye on Johnsina the entire time that I was at the University of Florida. She was the first female, African-American female to graduate undergraduate school there. And she finished in 1966 and I finished in 1967. So that's the long route to how I got to the University of Florida.
That's an amazing story. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So how did you feel like knowing that you were going to be the first African-American female to integrate the College of Journalism?
Well, I want to say that qualification of female, you're right, but I was the first African-American, period, to enter the School of Journalism when I went. We were under the stadium at that time. And it became a college the year that I graduated in 1967. How did I feel? I was overwhelmed by the size of the school. The 2 schools that I had seen as a teenager were Florida A&M University, which has its landmass is rather comfortable, and then Bethune-Cookman College over in Daytona Beach. Mm-hmm. So I knew, the interesting thing is I knew when I went what I was going to study. I didn't have to wait after the first 2 years and make the decision. I knew I was going to study journalism. So I was in journalism classes as soon as they would allow me to go there. However, what helped to prepare me for the entree is that there was an orientation for parents and freshmen. And I think my parents and I were the only Blacks who were there. And I hesitated when I said Blacks because at that time, I think we were colored. We weren't Negro yet. We were colored because the signs said, they didn't say white only or Negro. It said white only or colored. That's the signs to go in the toilet, or the signs to drink water, or signs saying no colors. Okay. Now, by the time I graduated, I had become a Negro, but I rolled with the flow. But having gone to that orientation was good for me, and it was very good for my parents. My father was an uneducated man. He was a businessman, very sharp, very smart, from South Georgia, and went as far as third grade in school in South Georgia. Okay, born in 1906. So we're talking about a long time ago. And what kind of education would he have gotten? Very smart man, though. He taught me a lot. And my mom finished high school. And so they were the only Blacks in the dormitory where the parents lived. And that was quite an experience. We can remember, we did not come from an integrated environment, period. We did not have it. Now, because my dad was in business, then he saw and met with people who were other than colored. So he had more experience with that, and it wasn't so off-putting to him. What I learned, one of the things I learned is that the Jewish students brought with them their history, and they sought me out and they shared that history with me. They were kind. The Anglos were not as forthcoming, and that was okay. But I learned that I was going to be living in the dormitory Rawlings, Rawlings Hall. So being the journalist that I was, I investigated to find out who was Rawlings. And I learned that she was a Florida cracker. Well, that's not a very positive thing for us here. Not for Black people. When we call white people crackers, that's negative. It's almost like they're calling us niggers. I mean, really, we really don't like it. And I'm like, wow. And she calls herself a Florida cracker. What is, by definition, a cracker? So I learned that. I learned to appreciate her work. I learned to appreciate her relationship with African Americans who also were writers. And I was prepared for the beginning of school.
Wow. I can't even imagine. I think by the time that I got to UF, this was in 2006, the population of UF had definitely grown, for Black students, but we were still, in the minority. So I can imagine being the first one and the only one to show up to class, and there's no one else that looks like you there,
Not at all.
Wow.
There were, when I went, the first year there were 7 Blacks. The year that I went, there were 7 more Blacks. I think 7 is supposed to be a perfect number or something. I don't know, but there were 7 and 7. And so I did the research and I found that there were about 14,000 white non-Black undergraduate students. And there were, early 20s overall, 1,000 students. So we were like a pebble in the ocean. And we seldom saw each other on campus. I honestly, and over in journalism, being the only one, and way over there at the stadium, who's coming over there by the stadium to see me? I don't know. But no, we didn't even run into each other on that 2,000 acre campus. That it was, it took a lot for us to be able to deal with the racial situation, with the scope, the fact that this campus is so big, and all of those white people. I hadn't seen so many white people in my entire life. And so that was an adjustment.
So that actually is interesting that you say that too, because I think about, my question was going to be, how did you all, as the only lone Black students, were you able to communicate with each other? Did you try to connect with each other or reach out to each other throughout the time while you were there?
Seldom.
Because even just like Allysen said, I mean, that campus is so big, you're not going to just stumble upon each other, right? And
No, there was an association of, I used to recall it, the Association of Democratic Action. Maybe it'll come to me, but that was Blacks and whites who were working together for to make sure that we were going to be safe on campus, that we would have exposures that we should have had on campus, that we would also be safe off campus. Seldom, that's a different story. We'll talk about that. I seldom went off campus. And we could go to the Black section of town. The commercial section was on Fifth Avenue. And the place was Sarah's. I didn't drink. And I was 17. I couldn't drink, but that wasn't my thing anyway. But I love to dance, still do love to dance. And so we could go to Sarah's and we could hear the music and we could eat Black folks' food, fried the way we like to have it fried, or barbecued the way we like to have it barbecued. And so we did, some of us went, not even all 14. Some of us went, we saw each other, we got a chance to, okay, what did you experience and how did you deal with this? And so Sarah's was the place. Other than that, no, because we didn't even see each other in the dormitories or at the campus restaurants. No. So we didn't have a close relationship while we were in school, and we don't have a close relationship as alumni, those of us who were among the original Blacks. No.
Hi, can you hear me? Is there any reason why you believe now, looking back, why there's lack of unity, considering the small numbers then? Now, back then, perhaps what came to my mind is that there was always, it still is in a way, a fear of Black people uniting and coming together and meeting. If we're meeting, then we are galvanizing against whatever other people's good, and we're just simply trying to unite together. But looking back, is there any reason why you think that we still are not united? There's still small numbers in the College of Journalism. There's still small numbers as compared to the whole of the greater university culture. Much larger now than when you went in. But why do you think that is, that we just don't have the unity?
There would be different reasons. And I'd love to inform people that I am of the Society of Grits, girls raised in the South. That is very unique, okay? One of the things that those of us who are Southern, one of the things that we do is we speak. We make eye contact and we speak. Then as integration started coming about, Black people would bypass each other and not speak. And I was like, well, what in the world? What is this? Now, and I found that some of them were from the North. They don't speak to anybody. Okay. It wasn't anything personal. It's just that they don't speak.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for us, I don't know, it was almost, I found that there was a sense of, well, let me protect my turf and you just stay on yours and I'll stay on mine. But I told you, my Shiro, John Cena has such a beautiful, bubbly personality. Oh my gosh. And so we're going to laugh and chuckle about everything anyway. And so we did. Let me tell you a story she shared with me, and I have included this in my manuscript of the book that I am writing, and it's a big part of it about the University of Florida, because the University of Florida did influence me significantly. I'm not denying it. But in terms of dealing with people, John Cena was there a year before I went, and she was living in a different dormitory than I lived. And she said she went in, someone had a car. That was unusual at that time when we were in school. Everybody, we looked like we were from China. Everybody had bicycles. And I didn't even know how to ride a bicycle. My mom didn't let me have a bicycle. She was afraid I'd be hit and killed. She was very protective of me. I had to get the bicycle, learn to ride the bicycle, learn to ride in that traffic. I got it, okay? But John Cena was saying that they went to this drive-in restaurant. And when they pulled in, you know, the white, she's the only black, okay? So she's in the back or on the side, it's okay. But the order was made by the white driver. Everything was okay. They went back to the place at another time. When the driver approached, she advanced too far. And so she wasn't where she could order on the microphone. And so John Cena, being in the back, placed the order. When the girl skated out with the order, she looked and she asked, who placed this order? And so they said, we placed the order. And she said, no, who called it in? Did you call it in? She asked John Cena. She said, yeah. She said, I can't give you this order. She took it back because John Cena was black. This is in 1962. Okay. And I'm like, really? She said, yes. And she said they laughed about it. Now, see, others would have gotten angry about that, would have been very negative about it, but it was a learning experience for all of them. And she shared that with me. So I'm saying that Celicia, who asked the question, who happens to be my daughter, there are different reasons that people don't merge. There are different exposures and experiences that they bring with them that prevent them from doing that. And there are some people who just don't want to be with black folks, okay? I mean, really. And so I tried to be a lot like John Cena. I am bubbly, but I'm not quite as bubbly as she. I don't quite take it that well. And there are others who are way on the other end. I'm not that bad. But there were different reasons that they didn't have. Now, there was one girl who was very pretty. And her Rose Green, her father was president of the Black Junior College in Daytona Beach. So she was acting almost like the white people because she said to me, she introduced herself and she said to me, oh, I guess because my parents came up every other weekend and my father had this long pink Cadillac. Okay. He was an auto mechanic. Cadillac was it. So that was what we had. And she said, well, so your father has that. My father has the education. And I thought, okay, now that might be one of the reasons I wasn't that close to her. You see, there are different reasons. It's like, you know, she's going to set this barrier up and put me in my category, and she's going to be in an elevated different category because her father had and my father had. And so now, and that's how the white people were doing this. I didn't need a black person doing it. I didn't say very much to her. And so there were those personal kinds of reasons, you know, that impacted our relationships or non-relationships.
So I'm curious what you think of how the university has really been handling things this year and what UF is like today. You know, what do you think about what's going on?
Well, I saw the president of the university. I think the first time I saw him, I was being honored at the university, and I'm honored quite a bit. Thank God, that's nice. And I came back and sat down in my seat. It might have been for, you know, after you've been there for 50, after you graduated for 50 years, I've forgotten what they call it, but you're in this exclusive group. I think it was then, I'm not sure. But anyway, I sat down at the table. And so this white man was sitting to my right. And I looked at him and I said, I'm Jeraldine Williams, and you are who? And he said, well, they said I'm the president at the university. And I said, well, that'll work. Okay, it's good to meet you. So that's how we met. Well, I noticed at the different events that Black people have, that man comes. And when he comes, he stays for the entire event. I am impressed. Now, that might not bother you one way or another. I am impressed because oftentimes, not just the Black, but when you're talking about students, these people are so important and so busy, they may come in and then they're gone. He stays for the entire, I'm like, is he still here for the entire time? So the last event that I attended, he was walking out, and the last event that I attended was the memorial service for my schoolmate, Stephen Mickle. And he was sitting up front. I saw him sitting up there. He got up and he had something to say, and he came back and sat right back down. And as he was passing me, leaving the auditorium, I stepped right out and got right in step with him, gave him my card so he would know with whom he was speaking. I said, I want to say this to you. I appreciate the fact that when you attend our events, and I've seen them in other ones at the Association of Black Alumni, you come and you stay. Now, I appreciate that. Now, let me tell you something else about him. When we were there, they used to have the alligator in the pond, right on Highway 41. Well, across the street from on Highway 41 was the fraternity house of the Kappa Alpha. Well, I'm a quick learner, okay? And I knew the Kappa Alphas didn't like Black folks. And so we all found out they didn't like Black folks. So we didn't have anything to do with the Kappa Alpha. We let them go their way and we stayed our way. And they were just off campus and we just stayed right on campus. But what we agreed is that we would not walk that route where you're passing that pond, where that alligator was. Because let me tell you this. There are some people who are actors and leaders, and there are some people who are followers, and then there are others who are convinced that they just participate in the sense of benign neglect. Just kind of watch, just let it happen. So at any point in time, those KAs could have taken any one of us. We would have been defenseless. They could have held us out there for that alligator and isn't that a terrible thing? I mean, this is serious for us. It was serious for us because if you go into history and you look at, they have, the hand fans like you have at church. They have those hand fans that the white people put out showing the Black babies. This is for real. The Black babies that were taken when the mother, after birth, and the mothers had to go back out in the muck and work, or out in the fields and work, and the babies were left. They would go in and take those babies and string them up as chum for the gators. That's what? Gator baby. This president said that's the end of that. Somebody told him, because he's not from Florida, but somebody told him and he acted on it. I appreciate that. Now, he may be short in some other ways, but he's long in those that I've mentioned, and I appreciate it. And you know what? If there's something that I know about, I don't have a problem going to him and talking with him about it. Saying, I think that, now this is my position, and this is yours, and let's see if we can meet somewhere. I also contacted Vice President Antonio, work with me, what's his name? Yeah, he's a new vice president. And he was coming in to deal with multicultural issues.
Farias was his last name?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I communicated with him before he came on campus. You know what? He came down to visit me right here in this house. And we spent a day together. I wanted him to know who I am. I wanted him to know my interest in the university and the affairs of the university. And I wanted him to know what my input has been for a long time. Okay. So when he looks up at the various events, he typically sees me sitting there. So I haven't passively sat back and waited for them to come to me. I have been assertive. I realized one day I go to the gym. pretty early in the morning. And while I was there, I'm looking on my phone and I see that there's a meeting at the university on the story of the African-American history at the university. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I had to change everything, get dressed, get on the highway, and I'm boogieing up I-75. Well, I mean, I need to be there a certain time. And I realized that, and I had just found out, I told you that, right? Okay. So that meant I had to go just a little bit faster than I had planned to go. And I looked back and there was a highway patrolman approaching. And I said, okay, I see you. Oh, damn. Anyway, he came over to my left and he looked at me and he bowed. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So, but he didn't say go over. What he did, because I did pull back. I'm not dumb. I'm not the dullest pistol in the box. I pulled back. And what he did is he got in front of me and he escorted me to the Gainesville exit. I said, now he did that because my lifetime tag is on the back of my car. I don't care what y'all say. I'm just telling you, okay? This man looking over there and he sees this old Black woman with a Gator tag on. I'm going to take her in. She's trying to get there for a reason. So it works, but I participate. I am active. I don't need to have all of the glory and all of the honor and all of the thing, all that. No. I'm just saying, you know what? You come in here and you're going to be working in. You need to know who I am because I'm watching you. And, they respond.
I think that's extremely important. And I really appreciate you sharing all of those stories because honestly, I think that you taking that particular route, and like you said before, you could have reacted a certain way. Like you said, your Shiro could have acted, angrily, or she could have been very negative with situations that she faced. And you have all rights to do the same thing, right? You could still feel, angst and anxiety and stress and negativity around your experience at the University of Florida. But the fact that you are still making it known that you want to be involved and that you want to let the people who are, as I call them, the powers that be, still be held accountable. I think that's very commendable. And I know I appreciate that as a graduate as well. And I love to see alum who are very, very actively engaged in what they want to see, because otherwise, how do you make change if you're not requiring of those who have the power to do so? So I absolutely commend you for that. And I thank you so much for being so involved, because I know they know who you are. I'm sure President Fox knows who you are.
Yes. But I want to share this with you. On one of my trips there, one of the students, I think I spoke to the journalism faculty, and one of the students came up afterwards and said, and she was really tense. And I said, I mean, this is just a couple of years ago. And I'm like, what's going on? And she said, I don't know how to handle this. I said, tell me, let's see what we got to work with. And she said, I have this white student who said to me, you are here. And so that means that you're here because of affirmative action. And that means that my friend couldn't get in and you have his number and all. And she said, how do I come back at a person who does that kind of thing? And I am going to ask you to put a pin in that. And I'm going to go back many years when someone came at me and who was trying to put me in a box. And it was a Jewish girl. And they were the ones who would at least talk to us. The Anglos would not. And she said to me, so you're a student? I said, yes. Mm-hmm. And so you're in the subculture. Now that means that they are the culture, the Jews and the Anglos, they're the culture, and I am in the subculture. And so you came from the ghetto. Okay, I was very polite. I did that part. And I remained polite. Now, I didn't say she was going to exactly like what my answer was. I said to her, no, I am not from the ghetto. I was born and raised in Ybor City, and I spelled it for her just as I spelled it for you. And I said Ybor City is a mix of cultures, and I named them for her. I said, but I can guarantee you that you are from a ghetto. Okay, now by definition, being a Jew, she was from a Jewish, I guarantee you that. And I must have been right. She didn't say I was wrong. Okay. So what I'm saying is we need to prepare our young people to have a couple of cards in their hip pocket that they pull out, you know, at my age now, I pull out, I'm old, I'm Black, I'm poor, I'm female. And these white people looking at me now like, okay, what else you got? You know, whatever. I mean, I got one for you, okay? And I'm just saying, I had mine because I had heard ghetto. I'm like, what is a ghetto? I had read ghetto. What is that? And so by the time I got to the university, I knew what a ghetto was. And what I also knew is I did not live in a ghetto. So when she said that, but what she was trying to do was trying to box me in. She had already decided that I'm from a subculture, but she's going to box me in. But at least she was talking to me. White people didn't even talk. Okay. Okay. But I mean, I was as kind to her as she was to me. We worked that out. So for the young lady who approached me at in journalism, I said, honey, when they say something like that to you, you just merely say to them, thank you. And you tell your friend thank you too. Don't let them know that they're getting to you. It is not allowed. Okay? Now you don't have to defend anything. And your presence, all you know is you're grateful for the opportunity. Thank you. If you step back to let me come in, thank you. If you missed a couple more questions than I did on that test, thank you. Thank you. That takes care of that. Now, what is he going to say? And I was telling Allysen that a young girl came to visit me, and she's from Brazil. And she was doing her master's degree, and she was, I don't know whether she was in journalism or not, but I know she came, but she needed to do these interviews. So she wanted to talk to some of the old ones. Okay, so I'm the old one. She came in, and I said, okay, so what's the agenda? What are we talking about? And she said, well, I need to know about affirmative action. So you were a part of that set aside and how it worked? I said, baby, I'm so old, they didn't even have affirmative action at that time. Shoot, I don't think the girl has gotten over the shock yet. I said, no, either you made it when I came or you didn't make it. Now, you got in, and then they greeted us with this. I understand they do this all over. They said, so there, let's say it's like 3,000 freshman students. And so the vice president of student affairs would say, welcome. And by the end of the first, we had trimester system. By the end of the first trimester, every other one of you will be gone. So what I did, I turned to my right and I turned to my left to see who was going to be gone. Because I'm like, I know I'm going to be here. My father worked hard. He was an auto mechanic. I knew what it took for me to get there. I knew what it took for me to stay, and he was providing it, and I was going to be there. And in 4 years, I was going to be out, done. And that's just what I did. Now, I have this kind of superiority complex. And you know what? When you look like me, let me tell you, young people, you have to have it. Do you hear what I'm saying? Now, I could only have this with the sense of being enveloped by the Holy Spirit. I'm just saying, now you do it your way. I'm going to tell you how I did it, and I still do it. My mother was my accountability and my prayer partner. Okay, she prayed me through. All right. And my daddy worked so hard. And my community, everybody was behind me. You're talking about a child of the village. I was it. The Sicilian and Italian men would go by and make sure my dad had the money that he needed, whatever. Is she okay? She's all right. So my senior year, I said, okay, Mom, I will always say, Mama, now help me pray for this. This is what I want. Okay, when two or more, so she was my second. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, now, Lord, I'm coming to you. I am graduating. I am coming to you directly. And I want to show my parents an appreciation that is beyond what I can even imagine. But you can, so it's on you. Okay? And I'm not going to tell my mama, so she won't be praying for this. I mean, they were just happy that I was graduating. Big deal. And graduating in 4 years. Huge deal. And I said, I want more than that. And I'm telling you, this is the vertical prayer. This is not the horizontal association. So, okay, now work with me. So in journalism, they posted information about the William Randolph Hearst National Awards. Tiffany, no one said anything to me about entering, and not one word. I'm just reading the bulletin board and I see it. And I'm feeling, well, if anybody can do it, I can do it. But I was not the chosen one. Yvette Cardoso was. Listen, we're talking a long time ago, okay?
And you remember her full name.
Experience. She went out. She had the newspapers. She was it. And I said, but me and the Lord, we got this. And every month I entered. They didn't even know I had entered. I entered. I'd win. I think we had to do this for 6 months. So the last time, Mr. Hugh Cunningham, said to me, Geraldine, I said, yes, sir. Now, I had been entering and I had been winning, right? But now that's my boy. Now he was my. I liked him and he liked me. We got along. But what I think you need to write on is what it's like to be Black on Saturday night. I don't think he said Friday and Saturday. I think it's Saturday night. And I thought about that and I said, now, when I wanted to do something special, I didn't go to Mr. Cunningham and ask him for a doggone thing. And he didn't offer. And the Lord has brought me this far, and that's whom I'm going to lean and depend on, because he said he would never leave me or forsake me. Now, y'all can take what I'm saying, or you can leave it, or you can take it with you, okay? But it worked for me. So I said, Mr. Cunningham, if that's how I will have to win, because I had to qualify over those 6 months, or however many months it was, to even take the test to win on the national level, I said, I will not win it. That's how I have to do it. And he said, I'm just saying, Geraldine, you definitely would win. What it's like to be Black on Saturday night. And I'm like, you know what? That's like taking the cover off of our existence and I'm exposing it to you. No, I'm not willing to do that. As a senior in journalism, I was among the students who had to put out the Gainesville Sun. And when we went there one Thursday, we had to do it on Thursday, Mr. Cunningham said, Geraldine, we're going to walk down. Now, this is in 1967. All right. Civil Rights Act has passed. Okay. I ought to be able to go down and eat. Right. And I told you, I went off campus seldom, only on Fifth Avenue. Okay. And so I'm with these white people, all these white students, Mr. Cunningham, and a white lawyer. We sat at the table in this little restaurant. We walked to it. It wasn't very far, right downtown. And when the waitress came, she put a place setting down in front of everyone except me. Well, okay, everybody can hear me. I won't say. I was not pleased. To say the least, I was not pleased. I got up and I left. But I said something to the girl sitting next to me. So Mr. Cunningham looked around and said, well, where's Geraldine? Because by then they were eating. Well, where's Geraldine? And she said, everybody got a place setting except Geraldine. She said she wasn't staying. So I left. He said, find her. And no. He went to the editor of the newspaper and told him what happened. And he said, tell Geraldine to come to me. Find her and tell her to come to me. And I went to him. And he said, Geraldine, I've heard what happened. I understand your anger, but it's insignificant. So what? You're angry. And what I'm saying is you need to do more. And I said, I need to do more? Like what? And he said, I want you to do me a 3-part series for the Gainesville Sun. Town gown relationship. The other one was police community relationship and public accommodations. I said, okay, I can do that. So I did my research and I wrote the 3 and he had them all published. And I took those 3 and that was my final entry for the William Randolph Hearst National Awards. I won again. So all those, I think it was 6 months, I had to win. And I won because I went to my higher being. And I stuck with my higher being. He had been with me for 4 years. And I said, now I want to do something really, really special for my parents. It wasn't for me. I wanted to do it for my parents. And so that meant that when they got the results from all over the country, I was one to be among the finalists. That meant that I could sit down and I could take this test and all of that stuff. So Mr. Cunningham got the information and went to the university. They sent him to find me and he found me. He knocked on the door and I went and he said, Geraldine? I said, yes, sir. He said, I have some news for you. I said, oh, God. Well, what kind of news you have, Mr. Cunningham? He said, girl, you won. I said, I won what? The Hearst, I mean, that was a big thing. It was the biggest that the University of Florida had ever had. And he looked at me and he said, Geraldine, I know you don't like white men. I said, well, okay, we got that. He said, but can I have a hug? I said, Mr. Cunningham, you one white man, I'll hug. Okay, so we embraced. He was so proud. And he went to watch. Oh, okay. So I had to take the exam. And so all of us had the same set of questions, the same timing and everything. He timed me and all. And I did really good. I did not put in Gainesville, Florida. And so the boy in Texas won first place. I won second place. Good. That's good. That's okay. I haven't forgotten it, have I tell you what, when I put on my shoes, I know the top, the shoestrings. I got
that. That's right.
So when they sent me to Washington, D.C., and Mr. Cunningham went, and I think the president of the university went. And my father told me, next time you win something, you tell them, I will pay for the flight, let them pay for the clothes, because now I was really hooked, okay? He spent some money on he was just so proud. But isn't that what I wanted to do? I wanted to make him and my mother proud. But it wasn't just him, and it wasn't just my mother. It was all of Ybor City. And I live in the residential section of Ybor City, not the commercial that you go to visit, but the residential section, which is on the east side of 22nd Street, and it's called the Bottom. Okay, so I had to overcome the bottom when I was in grade school. And then when I got ready to go to the University of Florida, I said, I am leaving the bottom. But the bottom, they celebrated. I was honored in the U.S. Senate by the Vice President of the United States. And I was telling Allysen that I was I'm unaware. I didn't know why the vice president was having to work so hard to get my senior senator to come up to say congratulations or shake my hand or something. But he did finally come up. I mean, it was so quiet in that Senate when the vice president was telling him to come up. Now, watch this now. He was a graduate of the University of Florida College of Law. He was the former governor of the state of Florida. He's from Polk County and I'm from Hillsborough County, right next to each other. But he did not want to come up. But he finally came up, would not shake my hand and would not take a picture with me. And I'm like, I remember Spencer Holland. I remember like Holland and Knight. Oh yeah, I remember. And so I found out much later that Holland and 100 other US senators and congressmen had signed this Southern Manifesto, look it up on Google, to overcome Brown v. Board of Education, which said that you had to desegregate your colleges, and your schools, and public accommodations. And then here I come, really a representation of what Brown could mean, and he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. But that's okay, because I didn't need him any more than he needed me, okay? And I said, now, when I reached up from the bottom, I wasn't coming from the bottom. I was going up to the bottom. Now, what do you mean? I was going up to the bottom rung of white society's ladder to success. Now, you find me out of those 3,000 students who started out with me and ended with me, anyone who was as successful as I was coming from the bottom, coming from Black education, going into the University of Florida, in 4 years, I was being honored in the US Senate. Find me another one, and I'll say you good.
I don't know if we could.
That's my point.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know we're getting really close to the end here. Was there anything else that you wanted to say to Black students attending the university now, or just even to encourage, us as we're continuing in our journey of success and career as women and whatnot? So,
ooh, we have so far to go, and we have so much to do. I am just encouraging everybody to hold to God's unchanging hand. Now, you may have another person or another entity or another, so I'm just saying what my experience has been. It worked for me. And at age 75, I had a big celebration, didn't we? Mm-hmm. Of my 75th birthday. And I'm saying, for me to be able to deal with this, to come before you today, and to be able to relate clothed in my right mind, having the physical capacity to move and get going, sometimes a little slow, more slowly than others, but we need to stay focused, and don't forget who we are. Now, that's also my responsibility to tell you who you are, okay? Thank you for this opportunity today, for doing this. But what I've done for the past decade is I have worked on the manuscript of my first book that started out as a memoir. It was going to be Mandela and Me. And then I stepped back, being the journalist, and said, honey, nobody knows who me is. You're not Hillary. You're not Michelle. You're not Oprah. I mean, who the hell is me? Okay, so tell the people who me is. So it slipped from being a memoir to being / autobiography. But as I was doing my autobiography, this is very emotional. I also wrote the biography of my original African mother. I have been searching, I have been writing, I have been working at finding that person. And I am so close and didn't realize, let me tell you, if you're an African American and you're trying to do genealogical research, it's hell. Okay. Now, because they didn't care that much about keeping records on us anyway. But the little white women up in Madison, Florida, who are doing the genealogical research of the plantation have been wonderful for me. I ain't know nothing. They have taught me how to read a death certificate. I mean, I'm like, wow, all of that information is there. And it's leading me back to finding my origin. I am just so excited. Now, in writing it, I couldn't just say, I am Jeraldine Williams from Ybor City, and you wouldn't want to read that. Now, then I had to bring in all of my creative juices, okay, that I took with me from Tampa, from Black Middleton to the University of Florida, and had them embellished there. Okay, I'm just saying. All right. And I have used that to write it in a very appealing way. So I am writing some history for you guys. I want to leave it here with you when I'm gone. I want to share it with you while I'm still here. Okay, so it'll be here for a while, but always have your cards in your back pocket so you know which one you want to pull. That means you've got to read. And they say reading is fundamental. I say reading with comprehension might be a bit better. Okay, but just be ready for them because they're going to come at you. Now, you may think that because you have this position or you've earned this degree and all of that, you have escaped it. But no, somebody's waiting. And when they come, like she's going to tell me, I'm from, oh, so you are from the ghetto. No, baby, you are the one from the ghetto. I'm not. Okay, so work it.
Well, I think that is a beautiful way to end this. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope everybody had an amazing time. Tiffany, thank you again for joining us. I don't know if you have any last minute words that you wanted to share.
I just want to say thank you for letting me take part at this lovely conversation that I know we could probably continue for hours. But Ms. Williams, thank you so much for joining and, of course, letting us have a glimpse of what your life has been and your journey has been. I'm really excited to hear about when this book is finished. So I will ask that you please make sure that you let us know, and in that way, Allysen can let all of us make sure that we know how to get the book once it is done. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you. And I also want to let you know that I am a practicing attorney and I still do practice part-time. My daughter, Celicia, is a practicing attorney. And so we work together and we are working together on a book club and if we're not horseback riding or traveling, jumping through the air, I'm like, okay, Celicia. No, but she keeps me going and she keeps me current. And I always find my other daughters and granddaughters like this who help me stay aware. I don't want to stay. I mean, I'm slow and I'm saying, okay, I know, have some patience. And, you know, it's like I'm speaking Spanish. So I walk in to the YMCA, I walk into the gymnasium, or I walk into the telephone place, and everybody says, speak Spanish to her. I mean, clearly you can see I'm not Spanish, all right? But then speak Spanish to her. So I'm learning. I'm trying to stay current. And because I never know what pocket I got to pull that card out of.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you all for joining us. This was recorded today, so we'll be sharing the video. And we hope you all have a really awesome afternoon and stay tuned for the next Swampside Chat will be happening next month in April. So have a great day, everybody. Bye.